You're telling me that you want to see somebody knifed right in front of you.
He barely saw that.
I want to go where culture is, like New York,
did I raise such a
or at least
snob?
Connecticut or New Hampshire,
Where writers live in the woods.
It's so good.
Hi, I'm Saoirse Ronan, and today I'm going to be watching scenes from my career. So, here we go. What a dopey face. I'll pause it there because what I want to do is talk about the dress that I'm wearing in this. I had two dresses, a total of 2 dresses for Atonement, because I'm only in one section of the movie, which takes place over, I think it's a day or 3 days. I think it's a day. And obviously everyone else was older and they got to wear these beautiful gowns and they were so gorgeous. And I had my very plain white kind of linen dress. And then this was my fancier dress, and I felt so good about myself when I got to put my party dress on. It was designed by Jacqueline Duran, who is just the greatest costume designer in the world. This was our first project that we did together, and we've continued to work together throughout the years on like at least 3 of the movies that are here. So yeah, just wanted to comment on the dress. Oh boy. She knows something's up. That was the first time I found my light. This is some of Seamus McGarvey's handiwork, who was our cinematographer. And he taught me a lot about using light to my advantage. Just how to find the light and how to sort of tell a story with it. Acting. Oh no. Why am I laughing? Oh my God. Just like, honestly, the most awkward thing ever. And I don't even, like, I knew what was going on, but it just doesn't fully sink in when you're that age. Also, I will say kudos to Joe Wright. He was very, very protective over me throughout the whole experience on Atonement, because it was such an adult subject matter and there was language that I definitely couldn't have been exposed to. And he was really wonderful with me. And I remember that we shot all of my reaction before I ever saw anything. And then I think Ciara and James just came in for that one really awkward bit and they found it really funny. I can't remember what I was looking at. I feel like a lot of the directors that I was working with really early on, because it was either make-believe or we were working with green screen, or it was something that was very sort of mature and explicit that I couldn't be exposed to at that age, directors talked to me a lot. And they described what I was supposed to be saying. So I think that actually really formed the way in which I work and my sort of relationship to storytelling in film. Like, so much of it is just going on in my head. And I think it really comes from that time, those first few years where it was very much me and the director and them sort of creating this image for me just through what they were saying. The experience of watching something when you're an adult is completely different, because the movies that I made when I was growing up, they were mature. They were not children's films at all. I think I made 2 kids movies and the rest were incredibly mature. So even with something like The Lovely Bones, I think the sort of gravity of that really didn't hit me at the time. And I actually watched a sequence from it recently and I found it incredibly disturbing. I didn't want to watch it again. With Atonement, I haven't watched it in years, but I would love to. And I think any footage that I've seen of that movie since becoming a little bit older and more kind of appreciative of how a film is actually made, it does make me realise how special that film was.
The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. If you...
Our college trip took 21 hours and 5 minutes.
Laurie Metcalf is the best actor in the world. If Laurie Metcalf was walking down the street or you interacted with her in public and you didn't know she is who she is, you just wouldn't think she's an actor. She just has this realness to her that I appreciated so much. I was like so terrified doing Lady Bird. I was so convinced that I was just gonna screw this up, and that's not false modesty. It was very real. And so to be with older actors like Laurie and Tracy Letts was just this like incredible anchor for me during that time when I just felt so in my head. So yeah, I love her.
Oh, so now you're mad?
No, it's
because
just you're
I
being
wanted to
ridiculous
listen to
because you
music?
have a great life.
I'm sorry, I'm not perfect.
No one's asking you to be perfect. Just consider it would do.
I don't even want to go to school in this state anyway. I hate California.
The car scene was one of my favourite scenes to shoot because we actually shot this near the end of filming, so the fear wasn't quite as strong anymore. I'd sort of like numbed myself somehow throughout the whole process, and it was a scene that I could really make sense out of. I could relate to it so much, as I feel like so many people can. We've all had conversations like this with our parents or people close to us.
Your father's company is laying off people right and left. Did you even know that? No, of course you don't, because you don't think about anybody but yourself. An immaculate heart is already a
Immaculate
luxury.
fart.
Fart. You wanted that, not me.
Miguel saw someone knifed
Nice
in
one.
front of him at Sac High. Is that what you want? So you're telling me that you want to see somebody knifed right in front of you?
He barely saw
I
that.
want to go where culture is, like
How in
New
the world
York,
did I raise such a
or at least
snob?
Connecticut or New Hampshire,
Where writers live in the
Get into
woods.
those schools
It's so
anyway.
good.
Mom,
You can't even pass your driver's test.
because you wouldn't let me practice
The way
enough.
that you work, or the way that you don't work, you're not even worth state tuition, Christine.
My name is Lady Bird.
Well, actually, it's not, and it's ridiculous.
Call me
because your
Lady
name
Bird
is
like you said
Christine.
you would.
You should just go to City College. You know, with your work ethic, just go to City College and then to jail, and then
So
back to City
annoyed.
College, and then maybe you'd learn to pull yourself up and not expect everybody to do everything.
Not the way to deal with that. It was not the way to deal with that situation. I love that scene so much. I've always really, really loved doing car scenes because nobody can get to you. Like once you're on the road, usually you'll go out and you'll shoot for like an hour, a couple of hours. So nobody's doing checks on you, like hair and makeup checks. The director can speak to you, but only via walkie-talkie, which is fun. You get to slate before a take, which is also just really fun, and I still love doing that. There's like no one that's had a bigger impact on me than Greta. But I was desperate to impress her and for her to love me. And I think Lady Bird was like a really incredible experience for both of us, but it was like intense. I think for the two of us in a way that it probably wasn't for anyone else on that job. It was her first movie on her own. It was her directorial debut. It was my first time, in my opinion, doing comedy as like a young adult, which is just a genre that I rate so highly. And I really wanted to do a good job at that, and I think I got really in my head about it for a while. I loved her, and I was such a huge fan of hers from before we actually worked together. So, you know, we loved each other so much, but I don't think it was until Little Women that it was like we needed to not get Lady Bird out of the way, but we needed to like go through all those growing pains on Lady Bird, so then we could just be like, oh great, we kind of know what we're doing now a little bit more, do you not think? But yeah, I just wanted her to love me the whole way through, which is exhausting, actually.
On our third formal rendezvous, I had asked for her hand in marriage, and she had agreed.
Will you marry me?
Yes.
Oh yeah. That was the most aggressive kiss I've ever had on screen. It kind of hurt. Tony who plays the lead character he went for my face. It felt like, did it feel like tonsil tennis or like a battle of the mouths? That's kind of what it felt like. It was very full on. We'll have done it a lot because Wes does a lot of takes. So I can't remember how many. I actually forgot about this scene. But yeah, we'll have done it quite a few times.
No one knew, of course, but then who would have cared? We were each completely on our own in the world. And we were deeply in love.
My birthmark is in the shape of Mexico.
Here.
It was so cold that day and I was sick, I'm pretty sure. And on that job, you would sometimes spend like a week not doing anything, but you couldn't really leave. So you were really desperate to get back to work and very grateful when you got to do a scene. And where we shot this was in a place called Görlitz, which is in Germany, but it's right on the Polish-German border. So we'd be there for like, I don't know, I was there for a couple of months, but you could spend like a week just not doing anything. So yeah, Görlitz became very small very quickly.
I see.
Romantic Poetry Volume 1. Mr. Gustav recommended it. I have a copy of my own as well. I ruined the surprise, I suppose.
I'll go ahead and open it anyway.
I'm pretty sure the way Tony opened the book was discussed quite a bit. Me flipping the book over and him then opening it. The timing of that was planned out. But I mean, everything was planned out. Everything was very much considered ahead of time.
For my dearest, darling, treasured, cherished Agatha, whom I worship, with respect, adoration, admiration, kisses, gratitude, best wishes, and love, from Z to A.
This was the first time that I ever used my Irish accent in a movie, and I think the great thing about making a Wes Anderson film is that he's not kind of bogged down by like social norms or anything, because it's, you know, hyper real. You don't really have to follow the same rules. So when I met him for the first time, it may have even been this scene, because I don't have a lot of dialogue scenes in this. And myself and Wes read it with one another. And he got me to try it in American first. He was like, okay. Try it in English. Then I'd try it in English. Okay. Do your own accent. And then I did my own accent, and he seemed to think that that was a good fit. So we went with Irish, and I wasn't actually at a point yet where I loved using my own accent. That came later, but yes, this was the first time I was Irish in a movie. I think the more confident I became as an actor, the less I felt I needed to completely distance myself from the character that I was playing. I think that was really helpful when I was starting out, and a lot of people feel this way, that, you know, you sort of think, well, acting is you playing someone completely different to yourself, and that's not untrue. But the older you get, and I think the more just life experience you have, the more you want to incorporate some of that into your character. So I'm definitely more enthusiastic about using my own accent now, because there's just a freedom that you get from it that you don't get with doing another accent.
It's okay.
You want me to give her something?
I think that might be necessary.
Michelle Dockery. During Downton Abbey as well.
Abort.
I repeat, Agent, abort.
So cool. Oh my God. Hanna. I loved doing this. I don't know what that says about me, but I loved it. I remember with that shot that just went by, they built the camera into the wall. So you see where all of those little lenses are, they took that out in that little shot, and they put the camera in there instead, and it did a complete 360 around the whole room, which was just incredibly cool. Again, that's what I've really learned from working with Joe Wright, because he uses cinematography and camera work in quite a like choreographed way. My relationship with the camera and the sort of dance between me and it really developed from working with him. It was great. It was really good fun. I had this stunt coordinator called Jeff Amada, who I trained with for months. I got to learn how to use a Luger pistol, which is really hard to use. Very old. And I learned that professionals don't ever go around with their gun like this. They always keep it down, because then if anyone comes around the corner and they start to raise it up, then you're always going to hit a bit of them. Not that I'm encouraging anyone to use guns, but I'm just saying if you're in a movie like this, it's helpful to know that kind of stuff. Don't.
It's no use, Joe.
Laurie,
Joe,
don't.
we've got to have it out.
No.
I have loved you ever since I've known you, Joe. I couldn't help it. and I tried to show and you wouldn't let me, which is fine,
No.
but I must make you here now and give me an answer because I cannot go on like this any longer. I gave up billiards.
He gave up billiards for you, Joe.
I'm happy I did. It's fine, and I waited, and I never complained because I figured you'd love me, Joe.
I'm always going to be so influenced by Greta, especially when we're working together. Even when we're not, some of that starts to come out. Those same mannerisms that I think I've found from working with her.
Let's be happy together, Joe.
I can't say yes truly, so I'm not going to say it at all. And you'll see that I'm right eventually, and you'll thank me for it.
When we did the camera tests before we started filming, it was completely in costume and we had a full set behind us and we shot on location and it all just felt quite real. And there was like a movement, or there was like an energy, this sort of like this restlessness that seemed to come out that day that both Greta and I really responded to. I think I had so much energy on that job. I don't think I'd done anything else that year. So I was so desperate to get back on set and was so excited about getting the chance to play Jo March. It was just like a dream come true.
Listen, you'll find some lovely, accomplished girl who will love you and adore you, and she's gonna make a fine mistress for your fine house, but I wouldn't.
I never ran out of this energy, and that seemed to come out in every scene, and it really started to tie into her kind of story overall, which is that like she's destined for something else. She needs to get out. She's constantly thinking and buzzing and inspired, and I think when you marry all these ideas together and you really get in touch with your physicality, you can really tell a story there. So with this scene in particular, as you can see, it's on like quite a severe slant on the hill, and we had a massive crane that day, which we didn't get every day, but we had it that day. We had probably like an hour and a half to shoot the whole scene because we were kind of going into magic hour, so the sun was kind of slowly starting to set and we were losing light literally by the minute. So we were really up against the clock, and I think that just gave us this feeling of like it's now or never, you know. So we were both incredibly focused and clear on what we had to do. And anyway, the crane would sort of move up and down the hill, kind of running parallel with us, and we would weave in and out of each other, and we choreographed that a little bit so we knew roughly which points we were going to hit and when we were going to come back together and when we were going to part again. And to have that kind of clarity, for me at least, was really helpful.
I want to stay with you.
Yeah, I know. It's only until all this is over. And then the schools will open again and life will get back to normal, I promise.
Please, Mum. Don't send me away.
You know what the tricky thing is about playing someone in this situation is I know what happens because we all know how it ended up. But to play someone who really doesn't know, who's having to turn to her child as if she does, you're sort of having to like juggle all of these realities at once, which was really interesting.
Yeah. Your dad would want you to have it.
How do you know?
I know because that's the kind of man he was. Because you're his son. And it belongs to you now. And it's going to keep you safe, all right? Yeah?
Elliot and I had definitely established our relationship at this stage. We were very close. We'd done quite a bit. I can't remember whereabouts this was in the schedule. I think maybe like halfway through. But also with the way they shot it, like Elliot was in every single day pretty much, but I would come in for like a couple of days at a time and then I'd be off for a week and we'd really miss each other. And then by the time I'd come back on set, it would be to do a scene like this where it's the two of us sort of coming together and really having to kind of like work a scene out together. I think the great thing about working with a kid as well is that especially when they've never done it before. There's never an ulterior motive with a kid. It's just about staying as present as possible, and whatever kind of comes out instinctively for them is usually the way to go. So it was a really great reminder in how to work and how to make a scene as effective as possible. I really wanted to work with Steve. I'm such a huge fan of his, and you know, even though I was technically in a film that was set during the Second World War before, my character had no part in that, or my version of the character wasn't involved in that at all. Whereas now, to be playing someone who's all too aware of the destruction that comes with war and the sort of sacrifice that needs to be made. Again, for me as a person, it's been incredibly educational, very interesting. And also I think to play someone working class as well, after only having that experience on Atonement before, that was really nice too, to just kind of have a new perspective on the same time period. Thank you for watching some of my scenes from the past with me. It's been très émoche. It's been really, really lovely to watch them all again. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. Goodbye.